Big Daddy.
The Mike Devine chimes. Mark Panopoulos told us to do the chimes, and then
Mark Panopoulos, yeah.
Mark Panopoulos, and then Mike added to it with the Mike Devine mix, which is...
Well, you said you were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
no,
well,
I'm just kidding.
Actually, it all started because Leah bought some for sound stuff, and I've never used them for anything.
I don't think they've ever been in your home other than to do the show, right?
Nope.
I think so. So, right on. So, yeah, Big Daddy, Russ Orton, Leah, Lywood, myself, Lee Lakin, and, of course, Amanda Basson. She's in the studio with Mike Devine as well, hanging out with us, and we are doing the Top 40 timeline.
Well,
as usual, all the wonderful news we have for this week in 2000, well, now it's 2024. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. I'd like to plug our radio stations for a moment here. Radio GTA, which is a freeform station, Canada's national mix, we call it. And it's a tribute to Radio Caroline and the stuff Marsden used to do, plus a mix of the old Top 40 way used to play different genres. And as we say on Radio GTA, we don't have a format, we just play cool tunes, which I think is
pretty accurate.
If you look at people's playlists, their own personal playlist, it's a mix of everything basically.
Yep.
That's what they want today. And that's what Radio GTA delivers. Of course, FM108.ca, you want to go back in time, baby.
Step
to the
back.
50s, 60s, and 70s, FM108.ca, and we have Halton Hills Online, our local radio. And Party Dog, of course. Party Dog is a party station. Ran by
Party
Mike
Dog Radio,
Devine. And you can hear Big Daddy's Top 40 timeline on there.
Yeah.
And also on the weekends, and I'm on every night. And the ratings are good. The ratings came in, so there we go. Big Daddy has landed on Party Dog, my man. Look home, baby. Come on, my man.
Stoner Bob on Party Dog.
Why don't we get into what's going on here?
I'm going to send you, Mike.
The lady that puts it all together every
Yes.
week is Leah Lywood. And what's going on this week in history?
I'll let you start it off.
You want me to start it?
And the beginning of each day this week, it's been something about bands.
Yeah.
Something on New Year's about different bands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Well, it was New Year's week, so.
Exactly.
Here's a few tidbits anyway. The Beach Boys' first paid concert barely 2 months after recording their first single. The Beach Boys got paid to appear in front of a live audience for the first time on December 31st, 1961. They joined Ike and Tina Turner at a concert held in tribute to the late Ritchie Valens at the Long Beach Auditorium.
Ike didn't beat the hell out of her that night, did he? No,
bite
sorry.
your tongue.
Janis Joplin sings in her first public engagement, proving that great things really do start in some truly humble ways. Janis Joplin sang in her first public show December 31st, 1961, at a halfway house in Beaumont, Texas. It would be 6 years before she released her debut album alongside Big Brother and the Holding Company.
What an album that
And
was.
that was the same year as the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
They were all in different places.
Yeah, it's funny how rock and roll
going the same
bands.
direction, though, so it was kind of cool, because at that time,
They were new.
well, they were new. You'd had the British invasion already kind of started to happen.
Yeah.
Now you've got to compete with that, so to speak. That's tough. That was tough to compete with the Beatles.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
So Jimi Hendrix debuted his short-lived power trio band of gypsies with a series of concerts held on December 31st, 1969 and January the 1st, 1970 at New York City's Fillmore East. Sadly, by the end of January, Hendrix had broken them up. That was it. Band's done. But not before releasing a classic live set from the shows, the only concert recording issued during Hendrix's lifetime. Appearing with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles, Hendrix constructed a new sound infused with more jazz and fusion, fashioning the definitive version of his anti-Vietnam song Machine Gun during these shows. By September 1970, however, Hendrix was dead of an overdose.
I still get another, because the guy wasn't a big druggie. Like, if you talk to a lot of his musicians and his friends,
He indulged, but
did.
it wasn't like a like a Keith Richards.
And you think of somebody like John Belushi, how he how he died. Was it somebody there helping? Was it somebody like it? That's the scary part.
Yeah, you don't know.
It's a little sad because at that time, it was so rampant, right? Like it was crazy. It's all right. A little bit of history and trivia on this week. Basically, the first week of January, 1940. W2XDG in New York becomes the first licensed FM radio station and begins broadcasting from no other than the Empire State Building, and from there they went just...
Oh, there was antennas all over the top of the
Yeah.
Empire State Building.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
that happened,
Well, at that time,
it broke open,
that was
right?
the largest, the tallest building. In
Yeah.
New
Well,
York.
in 1940, FM
Yeah.
wasn't about as big as
Well, no, that was
the
the first time it ever came
Yeah.
out. That was the
Yeah.
first station,
Yeah.
but within literally, I'm going to say a year,
Yeah.
they had antennas
Yeah.
within the first few years, just the whole top
And
of
then
the
in
Empire State Building.
1941, they started playing album rock, man.
Yeah.
No, a little bit later than that.
I got to do another one here. 1951. This being the Prohibition era, performers are required to carry a cabaret card to play in clubs in New York State. Charlie Parker's card was revoked because of drug charges against him, which made it very difficult for him to earn a living. Because,
Well, without the card, you can't.
that
do your
and
thing.
Prohibition was against alcohol.
Well, and Barbara Streisand had one, Charlie Parker. I don't know. There's a handful that back at that point, right?
Yeah.
In 1958, Grandmaster Flash is born, Joseph Sadler in Barbados. The name Flash came about because he had a friend named Gordon. So one of their buddies called him Flash, so they'd be Flash Gordon, just like the sci-fi superhero.
So
There's
simple,
another
eh?
blow my mind story, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Mike Devine, did you know that?
What's that?
How Grandmaster Flash got his name?
How did he get his name?
Because
You gonna repeat this?
Well, came because he had a friend named Gordon, and they put it together, Flash Gordon, and that's how Grandmaster Flash. See, the mighty Mike Devine didn't know that. The king of dance music,
Well,
right
how
there.
did Melly Mel get in there?
I have no idea.
That's what I want to know. It was Flash and then Melly Mel?
Yes,
What happened?
that's right.
I'll stay tuned. I'll see if I can get that for you next week.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Tune in next week for those inquiring minds that want to know.
They want to know about Melly Mel.
1959, Johnny Cash plays one of his first jailhouse shows when he performs at San Quentin Prison in San Rafael, California. Among those in the captive audience is Merle Haggard, who is serving time for burglary.
That's priceless, eh?
Eh?
He was
Isn't
in
that
jail
right?
at the same time as Cash playing. Can you
And
imagine?
it's funny, you saying that because we watched the Johnny Cash movie the other night, just the other night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very cool. All right, Leah,
Nin-
1967, the year I was born.
1967, as a thank you to the citizens of San Francisco who helped raise bail money for two of their members who were jailed the previous day during a parade, the Hells Angels stage a concert at Golden Gate Park with performances by the Grateful Dead and Big Brother. And the holding company, lead singer of that was Janis Joplin. That was one of her startings. The event is christened the New Year's Whale. And it was big.
And like wailing, like not a whale in the sea.
No whale like crying.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that too, that concert, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
And it-
and again, something that happened so quickly and it turned into this crazy festival. You know what I mean? Like you think about some of these festivals that you got to promote and promote. This thing went.
Well, and the Grateful Dead, even though it's the Hells Angels, I'm going to say the Grateful Dead had a lot to do with that because
Oh,
back in
very.
back in California and other areas, they traveled around on a bus and they were
Yeah.
getting really well known before they actually even released an album ever. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were touring way before they released an
yeah.
album. A lot of people don't know that either. So.
Bob Dylan makes surprise visit to the band. The band's multi-night residence at the Academy of Music during the last week of 1971 was capped by a New Year's Eve performance that saw Bob Dylan make a surprise appearance. In all, he played 4 songs with his old backing group going into January the 1st, 1972. This concert, which featured horn charts by Alan Toussaint, was released later that year as Rock of Ages and then arrived as an expanded box set in 2013 titled Live at the Academy of Music 1971.
Excellent. Just to sit back and listen, put some candles on, maybe, little indulgence here and there. And great album, great video too as well if you can find it.
Yeah.
All right, one of my favorite bands of the old times. Through the next two shows took place a world apart. Superstars in the making, Journey and AC/DC played their very first concerts on the same New Year's Eve in Sydney, Australia. Brothers Malcolm and Angus Young took to the stage at the popular Shakir's nightclub.
No, Checkers.
Checkers.
It's just not spelled like CK, it's QE.
But without the frontman who would hurdle them to fame, the late Bon Scott didn't join them until 1974 at that time. So, it's so funny. I love AC/DC all the way through. It's kind of like Van Halen when they switched over singers. But the Bon Scott stuff, still that raw. The band has that raw sound that just, man, oh man. All right, well, I'll do one more here. All the way back to 1926 when Mike Devine was born, the first edition of the legendary British music magazine Melody Maker is published, promising news and information for all those interested in the production of popular music.
That's still going today, isn't it?
I did not know that. I didn't know
Yep.
it's been around that long.
Oh, God, it's been around forever.
Wow.
I remember when I was a kid, always checking out Melody Maker in the UK.
Like I remember as a kid hearing it, but I didn't know it went back that far. That's
A
cool.
lot of those do. They actually go back a lot further than any of us
No,
realize.
That's very cool.
1962, this week, a scheduled appearance by the Weavers on The Tonight Show with host Jack Parr is canceled after the folk group refuses to sign a statement denying any involvement with the U.S. Communist Party. 1975,
Caught.
Susie Quattro lands the cover of Rolling Stone magazine with the headline, Susie Quattro flexes her leather. With a string of UK hits under her cowhide, she's ready to conquer her home country, born and raised in Michigan, but fails to break through. The magazine does not get the attention of Happy Days producers, or does get the attention of them, of course, and she was cast on the show as Leather Tuscadero. I often wondered how she got on that show.
Oh, you had Leather and Pinky.
Well, she's from Michigan, and I grew up in England in the 70s, and she was huge.
She
Devil
never
Gate
made it
Tribe.
big here.
No.
Over there, big time. Here,
She had a song with Chris Norman.
yeah,
Remember that?
like a little bit. But who was the other one? Pinky Tuscadero? Remember?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
her on
Tuscadero.
Happy
Yeah,
Days.
well, she
they were-
actually, Happy Days is what really helped to break her out.
Well,
as
it gave
opposed
her
to,
a household name here in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Right.
But she's huge in England. I mean,
Oh yeah.
she went over there and took the charts by storm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
didn't know that. Cool.
Oh, yeah. 2008, with talk of a Kinks reunion in the air, the band's guitarist Dave Davies takes to the internet to share his feelings. It would be like a poor remark of
Remake.
a remake of the Night of the Living Dead. Jesus. They look like a couple old men, though, don't
Oh,
they?
they did. You could see them sitting out front of a nursing home, no problem, in a wheelchair, just shooting the shit.
And I know
Or
that
just a
because
rocking chair, just
Yeah.
kind of chilling and
I'm on their Facebook group,
Yeah.
the Kinks Facebook group, and they take daily pictures of just, look at these old geezers out there having a fag, having a cigarette. And they look like a couple old men, but they are a couple old men.
Well,
I
they
guess.
are. There's a
think
lot of
about
truth to that.
Some age better than others. Some
Yeah.
age, like McCartney, still looks pretty much the same, in my opinion. That's just the way it is. Ringo Starr looks good.
Oh, there's a handful of them.
Ringo Starr.
They look a
Yeah.
bit older, but they don't change. There is some.
Do you know who looks really good? Is Tom Jones.
I know, eh?
Yeah,
Right.
still late.
Mortal.
He's in his 90s now?
No.
80s?
Maybe.
80s then.
80s.
Easily 80s and late 80s, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So, Journey's first concert, 7,400 miles away in San Francisco, California. The early Steve Perry-less lineup of Journey, led by former Santana members Neil Schon and Greg Rowley, unleashed an instrumentally focused 9-song set at their hometown's Winterland Arena. Gene Simmons estimates that he's set his hair on fire about a half a dozen times during his 40 years of fire breathing and Kiss, with the first being an unplanned highlight of their December 31st, 1973 show at the Academy of Music in New York City. Luckily, an alert roadie with a wet towel helped Simmons escape major injury, and the stunt remains a part of the band's live spectacle to this day.
Gotta be careful when you're blowing fire.
Well, especially you got long, thick, curly hair like he did.
And they had
Jesus.
hairspray like crazy in there. Like it was, and plus and back in the early days, some of that makeup was flammable too. Like
Well, thankfully, I don't think it went that far. He kept it to the back, or side
Yeah.
back
Keep in
type of
mind,
thing.
they
but-
used to have to arrive at the show, or maybe they put their makeup on in another place.
No, they probably did it there, I would
well, they
think.
usually
Well,
did
it must have took them
there.
a while
Oh
to
God,
do
They
that.
usually do it backstage.
Yeah, and they all did it themselves.
Yeah.
They
Did they?
didn't have makeup people.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought they
They
did.
all did it themselves
Wow,
because
that's weird.
they tried to use makeup people and everybody wasn't consistent.
That's right.
So they said, no, we're going to learn
Learn
how to do it.
Well, that's an interesting tidbit.
There you go. Well, that's why there's a tidbit for you.
Yeah.
All right, we already did that one.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, Melody Maker. Oh,
Oh, no.
It's
okay.
a different. No, it's a
Oh,
different.
another one from
Just
1920.
keep going.
All right, 1926 again. The said first issue of Melody Maker went on sale priced at 3
Pence.
pence.
Yes. I had to jump in there as a Brit because you would
Yeah.
never know what 3D
God,
is.
no. I know pence is the
Yes.
P.
I thought it was pounds.
Yeah.
No.
I would have said pound if I was doing it.
No, not 3 pounds.
The monthly
is a
magazine
lot
was
there,
for
I know.
all who were interested in the production of popular music, as we were talking about. In the first release, Dance Band News, a feature on ukuleles and how to read music by sight. Advertisements in the Melody Maker helped assemble the lineups of a number of major bands, including the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Supertramp, and the Stranglers. Yeah, just a huge magazine. And again, like I say, the fact they've been around since 1926, and there's people out there young enough that go, that's not a real date. Like they just don't believe that that's real. Anyway, I'll do one more here. In 1989, I saw this show a few times. Never really enjoyed it, but lots did. The Arsenio Hall show debuts in syndication, bringing a spat of contemporary musical acts, including many hip-hop artists, of course, to late night during its 5-season run. Highlights included Mariah Carey's national TV debut in 1990 and a 1992 appearance by Bill Clinton, who uses his airtime to win over young voters on his way to the White House. And that's where he played the sax.
And it wasn't a spat of contemporary music. It
Whatever
was a
happened
spate
to
of
him?
contemporary.
A spat.
So people don't think it was a fighting.
Whatever happened to him?
Who? Billy?
No,
Or
Arsenio?
Arsenio. Well, you
Yeah,
never see him
he's.
I
Just
don't know.
disappeared.
I don't know.
I think he pissed a few people off in the industry, and had
I
to,
don't know.
You know,
I
it's-
don't know.
And in
really.
that industry, you come and go so much. It's like.
Because he was all the rage at one time.
Well, the
and then
last
just
time,
disappeared.
I think the last thing he did was because they just brought out Coming America 2 with Eddie Murphy, and he's in that. I haven't seen him since the 90s.
Yeah, I know.
Really.
1997, researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm published an article called Nitric Oxide and Inflammation. The answer is blowing in the wind in the journal Nature Medicine. The article deals with the detection of mucosal inflammation, and while we can't speak to its medical efficacy, it does reveal a trend of biomedical researchers using Bob Dylan's song titles and lyrics in their articles. The Swedish scientists had a friendly bet going to see how many Dylan references they can inject into their published work. A later study reveals hundreds of medical articles that had borrowed from Dylan, and the most popular song being "The Times They Are A-Changin'." Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
19, boy, I had to think for that one, I'll tell you that.
I was just thinking that, man.
Nice. It's amazing how people use famous people in ways that we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, and,
Yeah, very true.
same thing with naming insects and stuff. They're all named.
I know we've had a lot
And
of those lately,
marine animals a lot.
yeah.
More underwater and bugs and.
All right.
Are you going to do? You want to
No,
do that
you
one?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
that was a
No,
long one. Let Leah do this one. It's another long one.
2001, the Dave Matthews Band became the first major artist to release a song on Napster when I Did It debuts on the controversial file sharing platform. Unlike Metallica, who successfully sued the company for copyright infringement a year earlier, they were outspoken critics of digital piracy. DMB figures if you can't beat them, join them. I don't see the sense in fighting something that is the future. I don't feel that I'm in a position to say I'm being ripped off by Napster in any way, Matthews told MTV. We will always be able to play music, and no one will ever be able to take that away from us, he said. there will be a lot more positive things that come out of Napster than negative.
And that's true.
It's going to give people access to music they otherwise wouldn't have because of the nature of the industry. Matthews, however, isn't so chill about piracy a couple months later when the rough tracks from the band's shelved Lily White sessions hit the internet and are widely bootlegged. Still, he finds a silver lining by finishing the songs and officially releasing them as Busted Stuff in 2002.
Yeah,
I like the title, Busted Stuff.
I remember the old days of downloading songs from Napster would take 2 hours.
Oh, God,
one
yeah.
song.
One
Well-
song.
And you get on a lineup, it's like, oh, my God.
Mine went quicker. The problem for me was hours because I would go through and do a whole bunch at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I'd shut it down for the night, go to bed, and let it go.
When
Yeah.
you think about it, like how many of these musicians actually had that insight to know, things like Spotify now, and because Napster went through its whole, ordeal on its own.
I think it's very important that the musicians get what they're doing.
With their dues,
That's my
most
argument
definitely.
with
I
things
agree.
like Spotify.
And we
And
have,
stuff, the fact that they're making 150 times more than the artist is a little bothering.
Yeah.
But he's right in the other aspect that their music still stays out there, and that can happen to a band if they disappear for a while. They're forgotten, like anything else in old news, so keeping your music active and out there is important to musicians today, because when you think about the 80s, the 70s and 80s, they put out an album and then do a tour. Well, they made money off the album, they made money off the tour. The only thing they're making money off of now is the tour.
Yeah.
They're not making money off the albums anymore. So it's a whole different business and can of worms. So.
Oh, sure. It's downloadable stuff now. We used to
Yeah.
go to Sam the Record Man and
That was your Saturday afternoon.
I would spend hours in Sam the Record
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we'd go jump on a bus.
Me too.
Go downtown Toronto, hit the head shops, and Sam the Record Man. That was the two places we went.
And, as a young DJ, I was always playing dances and stuff, so I'd be there with a Chum 30 would be on the wall. And
Yeah.
number
I was
25 this
gifted.
week, and I was pissed when the songs weren't there, though.
Yeah.
Some days you'd go in there and, oh, sorry, we sold out.
Huh.
But,
All right, 1976, the Cars played their first gig. And on this night, Rick Ocasek and Benjamin Orr finally found a mixture of the personalities that did eventually become the Cars. Notably adding punky drummer David Robinson of the Modern Lovers fame. While Orr switched to bass, this low-key entry on a list of rock's most famous New Year's Eve shows took place at an Air Force base in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. But the history shows everything was falling into place for this groundbreaking group, which they were. When they came out, people were like... within 2 months, the Cars were regulars on the Boston club scene, with less than 2 years after they had released their self-titled debut, which had sold some 6 million copies.
one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time.
Well, again, like I said, when they came out, people they liked it, but they didn't know what it was.
Well, in England, it took them a long time to become popular.
I could see that over in England, but again...
But their songs
But it was a whole different
so
genre
good.
of music to what they're used to with the
Exactly.
British music. So
I remember
it
Let's
would take
Go,
a while to
just-
break in.
To this day, when I hear Let's Go by the Cars, it still sends chills down my spine when I hear that click right after a party dog jingle, you know what I mean? Boom! And it comes, baby.
Whenever I'm at the jam and guys go, "Oh, I want to do Let's Go," I'm like, "All right."
Oh, I'm up for it.
I had a
Let's
friend
Go.
who was through high school that was a drummer, and he loved playing the Cars.
I love playing their
He
stuff.
loved doing it. He
You know
drummed
what?
to that. He could have done it all day, all night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love playing their tunes. I won't bat it. Anybody looks at me and says, "You want to play this?" Yep, let's go. Let's go.
Who's next?
You.
Is it me? The song The Age of Aquarius is a reference to the astrological belief in a new era of peace and understanding. The song's lyrics express hope for the better future and a more harmonious world, and the band aimed to capture the spirit of the time and convey a message of love, unity, and optimism.
Now, can you imagine? That was the Fifth Dimension. So not only do they have a reference to their name, which was not created for that reason. The Fifth Dimension creation of the name was because it was 5 players in that time.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas nowadays it has a whole different meaning, more in conjunction with what that was.
Yeah.
So
That song
it's
is
kinda
one
cool.
of the incredible songs of,
Oh, I
of-
love
of-
it.
of humanity. It just, as a top 40 hit, it was a huge, I mean, you knew when that song came on.
I love the beginning
And,
of it. The way
yes,
it breaks in. I
just-
just love it.
You know, and we don't hear that enough anymore.
You
It's
never
good
hear it
show.
anymore. It's rare.
It's sad.
Last
It's
time I
such a
think
beautiful
I
song.
heard it was in a movie, the 40.
And in 1960, REM frontman Michael Stipe is born in Decatur, Georgia. In 1980, he befriends Peter Buck, a store clerk at Wuxtree Records in nearby Athens, Georgia, and he shares his weird taste in music. And they quickly brought Mike Mills and Bill Berry into the fold, and just 1 year later released their debut single, Radio Free Europe, and another great band, REM.
Absolutely. And like I was talking about off air, that, you know, for that to happen a year later, that's quick in the industry, really. You think of bands are doing 10, 12 years before they get to do
Just
stuff.
ask
like that.
Leon Russell, man. He did it for years and years before he became famous. Am I doing the Jimi Hendrix one too?
Wow. Let's do
Yeah.
a couple. Well, do a couple short ones because we're getting close to the end anyway. So
We got 10
there's
minutes.
there's a long. These are long stories, man.
Some of them are.
All right.
You and her.
Jimi Hendrix, banned
Yeah.
from the BBC after
Again?
going off script when he and his band, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, appeared on the show Happening for Lulu, hosted by the To Sir With Love singer Lulu. The band played Voodoo Child, Slight Return, as scheduled, but they veered off into the plan during their second number, which is supposed to be a performance of Hey Joe, with Lulu joining them near the end and the song then signing off. After getting out halfway through Hey Joe, Hendrix stops the music and declares, "We'd like to stop playing this rubbish," and dedicated a song to Cream, regardless of what kind of group they may be in. "We dedicate this to Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, and Jack Bruce." The group then launches into Sunshine of Your Love, to the dismay of the show's producer, who must cut out of his broadcast without the proper closing. Experienced bass player Noel Redding explains that the band smoked some hash before they went on, so they weren't concerned about procedures and repercussions. This incident became well known in BBC lore. I'm sure it did. One aspiring musician who takes note is Elvis Costello, who 8
Good, I
years
like
later
this.
pulls a similar stunt, halting his approved song on Saturday Night Live to play a song of his choosing instead. Costello credits the Hendrix subversion as an inspiration, of course.
And boy,
When
no,
all else
you know,
fails, blame somebody else.
and you're smoking hash. Hash is good, man.
I don't know if it would warrant doing that. No, if he's doing a bit of psychedelics, okay, I might.
Okay,
I
maybe,
might be a
yeah,
little more
yeah.
in tune with that.
Or
But,
today's edibles.
but pass
you
the
know.
buck either way, right? 1970s chauffeur Neil Boland was accidentally killed when the Who's drummer Keith Moon ran over him in Bentley. Moon was trying to escape from a gang of skinheads after a fight broke out in a pub in Hatfield, England. Boland got out to try to protect the car, but left it in gear. He fell under the car and it started moving with Moon at the
my
wheel
God.
as he tried to escape the fight. The drummer had never passed his driving test.
Can you imagine? I never heard that one before.
And Keith had never driven.
Unreal.
What? This
He-
is
he's-
it.
that's the
also-
problem. It didn't
there's
help any.
pictures of him out there. He drove his Rolls Royce into his pool
Oh yeah.
because he didn't know how to drive.
Yeah.
But I heard it wasn't a Rolls Royce. I heard
It wasn't. It was a Cadillac.
Cadillac.
It was a Cadillac.
Yeah, but people said it was a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
photos of a
Yeah.
Rolls Royce going in, but
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
a
yeah.
Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
Cadillac. You're very
Amazing how
right.
stories get twisted through the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tour and support of Bruce Springsteen's Darkness of the Edge of Town ended in 1978 with a bang, and quite literally. On the second to last night of the tour, Springsteen got hit in the face with a lit firecracker. He had just completed a performance of the traditional Old Lang Syne and then a cover of Elvis Presley's Good Rockin' Tonight when someone in the crowd threw the miniature explosive on stage at the Ridgefield Coliseum outside of Cleveland. It hit Springsteen in the face, went off and ricocheted away. Fortunately, he was only slightly cut and returned with a bandage under his right eye after a few,
Terse comment.
terse is a good word, yeah, to the crowd. Springsteen then launched into, quite unforgettably, into Point Blank.
There's a guy that's still around today.
Yeah.
And then there's that one.
What? Born in the
The
Water?
next one is a separate
Born in the Water. I can speak my mother tongue.
lyrics.
Passing laws just because, and singing songs of the English unsung. In 1990, following the Meech Lake Accord, the mayor in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, passed a law declaring the small town as an English-only Sault Ste. Marie founded the missionaries from New France
Right.
and is translated into St. Marie's Rapids. The law was repealed in 1994, and it was enough to inspire Downey to pen his lesser-known early hip song, told from the point of view of a French-speaking citizen.
A lot of his songs are based on,
Oh, yeah.
on Ontario especially, but Canadian history.
Oh, God, yeah. Most of his stuff. His early stuff?
It's
Yeah.
very Canadian band, I will say, on all fronts.
I agree.
1963, Leonard Chess, co-founder of Chess Records, tells Billboard magazine, as it stands today, there's virtually no difference between rock and roll, pop, and rhythm and blues. The music has completely overlapped, and he's right, 63.
At that time.
And then in comes the Beatles and the rock and roll and the Stones and
Yeah.
the British Invasion, and everything
And Pink
changes
Floyd
again.
And on
So,
and on and on.
Yeah.
It was true for about a year or two there because we got to and there's nothing wrong with Paul Anka and Johnny Tillotson but they weren't rockers. They were Gene Pitney, great singers, but they were pop singers.
Yeah.
So
Of that
it was,
time,
It was
you
a
know,
wishy-washy time.
Yeah.
And then the rock and roll started in '64. Actually, 62,
And
63
then everybody
in
started
England.
smoking weed, Nick. Got
Yeah.
even better, man.
That's right. Right on.
Actually, they were smoking weed before that.
Yeah.
It was under. It's just like anybody that does the type of voodoo stuff that they
Yeah.
hang you at a stake and burn you. It was kind of the same way with that stuff.
I just order a pizza, man. 1967, Pink Floyd and Eyes of Blue appeared at the Marquee Club in London, England. Queen magazine said the two guitarists looked moody. The drummer thrashed wildly about and the lights kept flashing. After about 20 minutes it became very boring, and after a half an hour I left. There we go. Monty Python-ish kind of story, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
1969, during the band's first North American tour, Led Zeppelin played the last of 4 nights at Whiskey A Go Go. Wow, that wasn't known well, was it? Los Angeles, with Alice Cooper as the opening act. Zeppelin were billed as Led Zeppelin, featuring Jimmy Page, formerly of the Yardbirds, because they weren't known yet.
Johnny
And
Rivers
that's
is
how
the-
they wanted to get the population,
But it was funny
right?
because even at that time, the Yardbirds were just getting here. Like they'd broken out in the UK years before, but their music was just getting here at the time. Well, now Zeppelin's coming out, and it kind of all.
and actually, they at that time, what it was is it was an explosion of the
Yeah.
Yardbirds right at that time.
Exactly.
Which is why they
Oh,
they
yeah,
refer
use
to it that way, because
Use it.
it's like we'll get everybody's attention. 1979, Prince made his live debut at Capri Theater, Minneapolis. Warner Brothers executives attended the show but decided that Prince and the band needed more time to develop his music. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So many things about Prince, though. That happened in the beginning by so many.
Insert foot.
Oh, yeah.
All right, finishing up here, and I love this story because he actually lives in Cambridge now, or has a home in Cambridge now. 1981, DJ producer Deadmau5 is born in Niagara Falls, Canada. His birth name is Joel Zimmerman. I've met him a few times. Awesome guy, really funny guy. He takes the name Deadmau5, pronounced, Deadmau5 because it's spelt really weird.
To the 5.
And his chat room handle after claiming to find a dead mouse in his computer.
He's interesting.
Yeah, I met him at a thing we did in Campbellville, and I was quite surprised to see him there.
You've seen his face?
Yeah.
Oh. Mike, have you ever seen Deadmau5's face?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen his face.
No?
No, I've
Oh,
never.
no.
YouTube videos.
Really,
I'm gonna
really
say, look
nice
on the
guy.
internet, you'll find it.
And you can
Great
tell,
music.
You can tell he's Canadian. And just when you talk to him, you can tell he's like Canadian, eh? Like it's just he's
Yeah.
really,
No
really
kidding,
nice
eh?
guy. But we ended up doing a gig together, and I'll be honest. And I told him this. I said, "Never heard of you, man." Didn't know who the hell he was. I had no idea.
You know what? The only reason
Right.
I knew is because my 32-year-old son, back in his late teens, early 20s, was all about Deadmau5. And I was like,
yeah.
Well, I know
me
about.
being the
Well, I'd
60s,
heard.
70s music, I was going, what is this?
I'd heard the name. I just never inquired. Or
Well,
anything.
Oh, he loved it. Braden
I've
loved
been getting
it.
since I've been putting the Big 20 together every week. I'm learning a lot about the newer music,
Yeah.
and I realize how cut off I was.
Yeah.
You're right,
And
because you
Joel-
probably didn't know who
Joel,
Deadmau5
I gotta
was.
say, buddy,
Only by kids
we've met
did I.
a few times now. Love you, man. You're awesome. Keep up the good work. I know he's got a tour coming out again, so promote
Yeah.
that. Check for on his Facebook page. And yeah, great Canadian guy. And like I said,
We should get him on the show.
He's got a beautiful house in Campbellville, and he resides there quite a bit. So.
Maybe you can hitch a ride with Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike's all on board with that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to sit him in the back,
but
though, with his big...
You both
with
have
his
to wear
big-
the helmet in the car, booting down the 401.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
There you go.
I'm doing it.
And
All
there
right,
I...
Joel, there you go. There's a challenge for you.
And there I was years ago. I have to have a dig at my old buddy, driving around in the Rockin' Ray Michaels mobile, going.
Yeah. And when you got your face this big on the side of your car, it's
Wow.
yeah.
All right, so we're
Wrapping her up.
Wrapping her up for 36 minutes. Thanks for joining us. The Top 40
I'll be about
Timeline
35
Video,
by the time it's all over.
worldwide something. Was it something?
Uniting community worldwide.
There we are.
As we do every week.
That's right.
Panda.
The Air Radio Network, soon to be on an app, whatever an app is.
Which one? The Air Radio one? Or
Yeah, that's the Air Radio.
You wouldn't know because you still have a flip phone.
I know. Mandy, she's here.
Yes. Say hi to Mandy, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
right
you
on.
so much for tuning in every week. We're glad to be back once again. We took a little hiatus over New Year's. Big Daddy Russ Horton, excuse me, Leah Lywood, I'm Lee Lakin, Amanda Basson, and of course, the
Mike.
wonderful, beautiful Mike Devine.
He's sitting
And his
staring at his
tutu
phone.
over there doing a dance for us. I want to thank him for coming into the studio and entertaining us while we put this production on for you. Have a great week, everybody. Be safe out there, and we'll catch you on the B-side.